The night was thick with an inky blackness that seemed to swallow the feeble glow of street lamps. I zipped up my jacket against the biting chill as I made my way through the labyrinthine streets, clutching the warm pizza boxes close to my chest. The delivery address led me to the outskirts of town, to a desolate house perched on the edge of a forest. The house stood tall and foreboding, its windows dark and empty eyes staring out into the night. A flickering porch light cast eerie shadows that danced across the overgrown lawn. I hesitated for a moment, my gut churning with a strange unease, but the prospect of a hefty tip urged me forward. The creaking of the porch steps echoed through the silence as I approached the ominous front door. Before I could even knock, the door swung open with a ghastly groan. A shiver crawled up my spine, but I attributed it to the cold wind that swept through the doorway. "Good evening?" I stammered, trying to sound nonchalant. "I've got your pizza." No response. The darkness inside the house seemed to swallow my words, and I strained to see any sign of movement. The only sound was the distant howl of a lone wolf. I took a cautious step inside, my senses on high alert. The interior of the house was as unsettling as its exterior. The air was thick with a musty odor, and cobwebs adorned the corners like eerie tapestries. The faint glow of my phone's flashlight revealed peeling wallpaper and dusty furniture that seemed frozen in time. "Hello?" I called out again, my voice echoing through the empty halls. Silence. I followed the address to the living room, where an antique clock on the wall ticked away each second like a distant heartbeat. As I set the pizza boxes on a rickety table, I noticed a faded family portrait, a smiling couple with hollow eyes, their faces distorted by the passage of time. The unsettling feeling in my stomach intensified, but I shook it off as nerves. Maybe the residents were heavy sleepers or had stepped out for a moment. I decided to leave the pizzas on the table and make a swift exit. Just as I turned to leave, a sudden gust of wind slammed the front door shut, causing me to jump. The dim light flickered, casting elongated shadows that seemed to move on their own. I fumbled for my phone, trying to steady my nerves. As I approached the door, an ominous whisper drifted through the air, sending a chill down my spine. "Leave." I froze, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. The voice was barely audible, a spectral murmur that seemed to come from the very walls. Panic set in, and I fumbled with the doorknob, desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Leave now." I burst through the door, stumbling onto the porch, the cold night air providing a brief respite from the oppressive interior. I glanced back at the house, half expecting to see ghostly figures peering through the windows, but the darkness swallowed the ominous silhouette. I raced down the overgrown path, the crunch of leaves beneath my feet drowning out the unsettling whispers. My breath came in ragged gasps as I reached my car, parked a few yards away. I fumbled with the keys, casting nervous glances back at the looming house. As I peeled out of the driveway, a pale face briefly appeared in the rearview mirror, a face with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. I swerved, heart pounding, but when I looked again, the back seat was empty. I drove away, the desolate house disappearing in the rearview mirror. The whispers faded, replaced by the distant hum of the city. I couldn't shake the feeling that something otherworldly lurked in the shadows, something that hungered for the warmth of the living. To this day, the memory of that night haunts me. I quit my job as a pizza delivery driver, unable to shake the lingering sense of unease. The desolate house on the edge of town remains etched in my mind, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead blurs into an unsettling dance of shadows and whispers.